So what is going on, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. I am Attorney Kevin. This is the Not an Accident podcast, and we are here with a college hunk, ladies and gentlemen. We got a college hunk, hauling junk and moving, and Mr. Omar Soliman, man. Good morning. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So a couple accolades, obviously CEO of College Hunks, 30 Under 30 Inc. magazine, Shark Tank fame, author, public speaker, saw you on Undercover Boss. I mean, you guys have made the rounds in the last 23 years since founding the company.
You know, we got to get the name out there. So we always, you know, any chance we can to brand and showcase what the hunks are all about, we take that opportunity.
And obviously you guys do a great job in the streets, I like to call it. You guys got great branding on your trucks and things. Obviously the name is incredible, which I think was credited to, was it your mom that came up with it?
Yeah.
So that's incredible. We don't go into origin stories too much on the pod, but I do want to ask, in a rare instance, how did this come about?
Oh, well, so I'll combine 20 years into about a minute, but
perfect.
My partner, Nick, and I actually met in 10th grade in high school.
Okay.
Best friends back then. And then summer before our senior year at college, borrowed my mom's beat up cargo van, and she coined the name, hey, you guys could be like the college hunks who haul junk.
Yeah.
And that was just like the
and
aha moment.
You were running.
We were running and did it with a cargo van that summer. 2005, after working in the corporate world for about a year, decided to start the business full time, bought a truck, a website, and launched the College Hunks business. That's a year-round endeavor in 2005 with one truck. And then 20 years later, we now have about 200 franchises and are a national brand. So it's been quite a journey.
That's incredible. Tell me about like how the mindset, I mean, that's, you know, we hear a lot of these stories and things, but how cool was that starting a company with your best friend, hustling, making it happen, you know, day by day, you know, maybe one day went well and the next day didn't, or, you know, were the jobs coming in? How was that?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's every kid's dream to start a business with your best friend. Right. And so you certainly hear the horror stories about business partnerships and all of that. But I think for us, we just meshed.
You guys have overcome it.
We've overcome it. You know, we certainly have different strengths and we complement each other. It was tough. I mean, the day one, we didn't know how to run a business. We didn't know how to do marketing or payroll or anything. And we were the guys driving the trucks and hauling the junk. And so from that point until where we are today, it's really all been about finding A players and getting them on the team, folks that are smarter than us, better than us. And that's really what we've been obsessed with since the early days.
I want to talk about, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe I saw a clip. So shout out to Nick. He has his podcast.
That's right.
So shout out, I'll tag that.
Hunks Talking Junk.
Check it
out. Yes.
So I will tag that obviously in the details below. So I think it was a recent clip that I saw where you guys were talking about how important it was to have partners in business. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge proponent of that. When you're coming up, I think it's like, I can do everything. I can do everything. Talk about how important it is to make, you know, have partners, strategic partners, things like that. You know, talk about how that's affected your journey.
It's huge. I mean, being a founder is like being on an island or being in a foxhole by yourself, and every day is kind of the biggest day of your life. Having somebody that you can share sort of in that pain, struggle, ideation is huge. And so I always say having someone in the foxhole with you who's got aligned vision and aligned interest is everything. So whether it's a business partner, a strategic advisor, a mentor, a board of advisors, like surrounding yourself with people that you can sort of sound ideas off of and share the true pain of what it's like to start a business and grow it.
And I'm sure too, I mean, you kind of hit on it, you know, you guys have different strengths, you know, and I talk about it with like my own law firm. I have 4 other partners. Not all of them do personal injury. I'll put it on the record, we have a conflict with College Hunks. So sorry guys, anything happens with College Hunks, you're out.
That's right.
But you know, I talk about it. My partner, Ian Levingood, is a fantastic litigator. You know, he's been litigating for 25 years. I've been practicing for 9. Yeah. But you know, my business development skills are off the chain, and it goes, you know, kind of goes hand in hand. I think it's imperative that even if you don't have full-on partners, that you have people that have bought in or have something. Not to, you know, use Shark Tank, but I think Mark Cuban says it's better to have, you know, a percentage of a watermelon than 100% of a grape.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, you're building a team, and you can't have 2 third basemen or 2 quarterbacks or two running backs. It's with partnerships, and then with the team, it's really focusing on what do we need and who is going to sort of round out an all-star team, because that's really, in our business, we're building a football team or sports program, right? It's a frontline heavy organization. Every day we're going out into the streets, as you call it, and driving bright orange and green trucks with, hundreds, thousands of hunks all across the country. So we're building out, a program just like Alabama football or Miami Hurricanes football. And so we got to have the coaches.
He had to drop that in there. Yeah,
special teams,
early on,
offensive coordinator and head coach. All that is critical.
How so I love using in the streets too. So I grew up in Apollo Beach, so you can imagine how dangerous those streets are. The HOA lady or something, that was about the biggest thing we had to worry about. So it always fun to use that. So obviously, I think, and this is from an outsider looking in, I think one of the biggest signs of judging your success, and obviously there's a lot of different things, but from my research, I think the franchising is massive. And I say that because you have to have your systems dialed.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to basically have it, and it's more complicated. So please don't, I hope this doesn't sound derogatory, but it's like you almost have to have your business in a box.
Yeah.
To be able to go, hey, Tom, hey, Susie, hey, North Dakota, South Carolina, whatever. Here you go. Here's how you run and have our support and go off to the races. So tell me about that endeavor.
Yeah. I mean, it's a business in a box. That's really what it is. We read a book early on called The E-Myth, which was written by Michael Gerber. It's the entrepreneurial myth. But the main takeaway of the book is that a founder needs to treat their business like it's a franchise, as if whether you're franchising it or not, imagine you're going to drop it in a different town and someone with very little experience is going to have to take that business and run it. So you need to have the systems and the platform and the brand all locked in. So that person who has minimal experience in your industry, in ours it's moving and junk, they can take that and run with it.
I think the biggest thing for me is the customer experience. And what I mean by that is it's not as much about, being greedy. I think a lot of people think it's like, oh, growing the business. They're just trying to grow the business. Right. I think of it, and I would imagine you guys do too, is making sure that the customer has the same experience wherever they see the College Hunks brand. So whatever state franchisee they're dealing with or anything like that, it's not about us, it's about the customer.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, when a customer calls a home service business, it's really like calling 911. They're expecting you to rise to that
professional
call,
service.
Prompt professional service, and they're in an emergency. Like it's rare that people invite strangers, especially strange men, into their home unless they're dealing with some sort of
course.
Issue. And
I think that's a different business.
Right. Right. But and it really can go one or two ways. It's either if you do an average job at rising to the call, it's either a bad experience and they bash you on Yelp and Google and all those things. Or what happens more often than not is what I call the shoulder shrug experience. You use that cleaning company, that roofer, the mold company. How was it? It's like, it was fine. So for us, it's we have what we call the Hunks way, and it's really a mapped out chart of every touch point that a customer has with our brand, from how we knock on the door to how we call ahead of time. And we're training our all employees of all ages, but we do have a lot of young employees, how to make those calls. Like things that might seem obvious to you and I might not be obvious to a 21-year-old, like how to knock on the door and take a step back, how to make a phone call and introduce yourselves, right? When they're picking up their date, they're texting and saying, hey, I'm outside. They're not going and speaking to the parents. A lot of our hunks, they've dealt with transactional customer experience, but they haven't necessarily dealt with like staying at a Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons. So we're trying to teach them what that Disney type of experience is like and bring it to a unflattering industry, which is the moving and hauling industry. It's sort of a paradigm shift from what you would expect a typical mover or hauler to be like.
Yeah, and I actually used you guys probably 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. We had some stuff that we were trying to get out of the house, and it was a great experience. I'm not just saying that. I felt so bad. This poor kid on the second story, I mean, he was like, this guy was probably $170 wet, probably in his like mid-20s. And those big ass TVs with the big back.
Oh yeah, tube TVs. There's still a few of those left in this world. Yeah.
This poor kid, and I even offered to help him. I felt so bad, and he was like, no, this is what we do. Very, very nice. But I'm like, this kid, like, dude, you probably should take tomorrow off. Like, I felt horrible. But they did an amazing job. We're very nice. We're very kind. And it was, it was a great experience. I want to, talk about how do you guys deal with, I know this is a broad question, but customer service issues, I guess.
Yeah, look, customer service issues is one of our core values is listen, fulfill, and delight. So the first part is you got to listen and hear them out and hear what their issue is. You're not going to be able to make every single customer service issue a magic bullet and
people
solve,
are people.
But you got to listen to what their issue is and really acknowledge it. And if it is an actual issue, really try to solve it. It's not easy when you're dealing with trucks, labor, moving, hauling, right? You're going into people's homes, trucks are on the road, but it's really a culture of do the right thing, listen to the customer, and then one of our other core values is fun, safe, winning team. So we want to have fun, but it's also safety is a huge piece of sort of the puzzle of how we handle things.
So you guys were just getting started. Like you were telling me that you were, in basically a van and
a van down by the river.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. So living in a van down by the river, hauling junk. How did you differentiate yourself early on?
Yeah. There's a book called The Purple Cow, and the gist of that book is, if you're driving down a dirt country road and you see a bunch of brown cows, you're not going to flinch, you're not going to double take. But if you see a purple cow in the middle of a field of brown cows, you're going to hit the brakes, stop, and probably get out and take a photo. And in the early days, that's really what it was. Like we are a viral brand. We started in 2005. I think Facebook started in 2004. People would take pictures of our truck and post it on social media.
Yeah.
They're not doing that with Stanley Steamer or some other home service company. So from the very beginning, I think we were fortunate that the name and the colors were just an instant paradigm shift. That was the sizzle. Now we really back it up with the steak, and that's the customer service and the experience, because 30% of our business is repeat and word of mouth. There's no recurring revenue. We don't sign subscriptions. We don't, there's no monthly guarantee. So our recurring revenue comes from word of mouth and delivering solid customer experience. That's really how we scale up the business.
For me, I wish or I envy you. You said the social media thing back in 2005.
Yeah.
Like I would be 5 times as big. I'm on social media all the time, and I'm like, man, if all these like old dog lawyers out there, and nothing, in their 50s and stuff, are still hustling. I'm like, man, you had such a jump, because our industry is, so professional. I do keep it professional and stuff like that. But I'm like, man, if you even would have just kept it professional and showed a little bit of yourself back in like 6, 7, 8, when like Facebook was on the rise, like, oh my gosh, how big these, law firms or some of these businesses could have been. So that's awesome that you did that. You mentioned earlier on in the conversation about mentors and people, offering advice, assistance, board of advisors, et cetera. How did mentors play a role in you all's success?
Mentors has been huge. Probably, I would say the biggest, if not one of the biggest reasons for our success. One of the beautiful things about being in Tampa is there's a huge entrepreneurial community. And unlike DC, where we grew up, I think people have a natural inclination to want to help entrepreneurs and help small business owners grow. And so we were really fortunate, even in the early days when we were just starting franchising, of assembling a really strong board of advisors. We had the president of Valpak on our board, the chief marketing officer of Pods. So even in the early days, it was just like always trying to surround ourselves with people that had, beaten the video game level.
And how did you reach out to those people? I guess
it was different. It was just people we'd meet, not being afraid to pick up the phone. My partner, Nick, I think does a great job of asking people, and some people say no, but most people say yes. And so I think it's a matter of being resourceful and picking up the phone and just asking, because if you don't ask, you're never gonna get it. Yeah. So, and the beautiful thing is that most people that are sort of in a certain stage of their life want to help entrepreneurs that are just getting started.
I think that is absolutely true. I think, when somebody's at, getting into their 60s and their 70s, and they've made their millions, and they've made their mark, and their kids and their grandkids are set up. It
now
goes,
what?
Yeah. And it's like, if I could have a, semi-legacy play where I could help this business, grow, I think that's almost, just as rewarding or more rewarding as building their own business. Mm-hmm. How important, and I've talked about this in the podcast prior, how important is it to find the right mentor at the time that you're in? For example, a lot of people read books or look up to certain people like, Alex Hormozi. I'm sure I'm a big Hormozi fan. Yeah, guy does like a couple $100 million a year. Yeah. Obviously, a lot of the systems that he's implementing and what I would implement on my end are not the same. Right. So in my view, I think you need to find somebody that can help you go from 0 to 10 million before you find somebody that helps you go from 10 million to 100 million. It's different conversation.
Absolutely. I use the video game analogy quite a bit. It's like, I grew up in the video game generation, but if you're trying to beat level 3, you talk to someone that beat level 3, right?
Correct.
And if you don't talk to the guy that's already beat the entire game, so it's finding the folks that are on or near the level you're trying to beat, and surrounding yourself with those folks. And I mean, I you know, the list goes on of whether it's books that have been recommended to us, like I mentioned, the E-Myth or the Purple Cow, or just like people or processes that have come to us from folks that have already beat the levels that we're at. I mean, it's a big reason why we're at where we are today.
People, I mean, obviously Morgan is huge. And, you know, people, you know, will say, oh, Morgan or this or that. And I know a lot of those guys, super good guys over there. You know, that's not even comparable to what they're doing. They're spending, I think, between 400 and 500 million this year on marketing.
That's crazy.
I'm like, you're dumping, you know, 35 to 50 million dollars a month on marketing. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Right.
So I think that's very imperative. And that's what I was trying to get across to the audience, that you find, like you said, to your analogy, you know, mentors that are 2-3 levels above you.
Right.
And then keep beating the game from there.
Leveling up. Yep.
Obviously you've had a ton of growth, 200 franchisees, you know, a lot of moving parts with the business. How do you, I guess, disconnect may not be the best word, but how do you balance that with a family and with enjoying life? Because obviously I'm sure you could easily work 18 hours a day if you wanted to.
That's a tough one, right? It's a business is like having a kid. Again, another analogy that probably gets overused, but that 0 to 5 years of a business is survival mode, right? Yeah. And that 0 to 5 of your kid's life is survival mode. Yeah. And so when I was doing both, it was a big struggle. Now it's almost, I'm in a unique situation where my son is 14 and my daughter is 8. So like I now have a little bit more time to give back. So it's now ensuring that I use my time that I have wisely, and the most wise time use for me is in the business, not like investing in other things, not getting distracted with side projects, but like College Hunks is a $1 billion opportunity. And so every waking minute that I'm not spending on that is sort of reducing the net worth of the business. So it's a shift. As my life has changed, I've been able to give more time, but it's tough, right? It's like you got kids, you've got family, you have wife, you've got business. It's one of those things that you just have to, I don't know if it's the word is balance, but I equate business. It's not a marathon. It's a series of sprints, right? And so like, if you treat it like a marathon,
seasons people talk about
seasons, right? Yeah. It's like, I'm going to sprint as hard as I can for the next 2 weeks. And then, all right, let's take a break, take a breather, see where things go, and then prepare for that next sprint.
I've started really, I think this year, probably within the last 2 years, really started to focus on like personal development and where I want my life to be, and like almost designing my life. I'm a big Rob Dyrdek fan. So I watch a lot of his content.
He's great.
Yeah, and just kind of designing your life and what you want it to look like. There's kind of two things that I've helped cope. Number one is I call them like almost like milestones. But it's like we have a trip to look forward to, or we have an event to look forward to as a family. And it's like we try to do something like once a quarter, like pretty awesome.
Yep.
We do little things here and there too. And, you know, we're down in South Tampa at Hyde Park, and, you know, we go to Disney and things like that. But it's like, you know, I try to do a cool trip once a quarter.
Well, shout out to, I don't know, Jesse Itzler, if you know him. He's the entrepreneur, but he created the big ass calendar, which is, you know, it's a big ass calendar, and you put trips, big milestones, big.
I messaged him to get on the podcast. I'm like, if I ever get a response,
let's get Jesse on. I have a 1 degree of separation, so we can work on that. But I think he's done an amazing job of truly doing what you're talking about, which is like putting family first, but then also making the most out of his business investments and giving back to the community as well.
The other thing is that the family time, you know, I work, I try to leave the house early because I got a little bit of a commute. So I try to beat the traffic, and then I try to get in a 12-hour day if I can. But when I do hit the door, it's like from, you know, the time I hit the door until the kids go to bed, that's 100% focus.
Yeah.
Like, and I, you know, whether it's 2 hours, 3 hours before they go to bed or
how old are they?
Like
how old are your kids?
15 months and 4.
Oh yeah. You're in survival mode.
Yeah. I'm still in survival mode. Yeah. We're waiting on, like, I didn't know it was that hard to get into preschool. Like we're like filling out applications. Like, it's like, you know, they're asking for like background checks, a kidney, you know, you know, I have to put a roof on the school now, you know, I'm just kidding. So, but yeah, we're dealing with all that. But like I was saying, that time, whether it's that 2 or 3 hours, like I'm full dad mode. That's it. Like, you know, try to block out the world the best I can. And whenever I get a call, I'm like, hey, client, love you. I'm putting Kev to bed or something like that. I'll call you in an hour.
Yep.
So Being so young, with that being said, being so young, having so much success, especially early on, did you ever feel, I guess, underestimated or not taken serious? And how did you deal with that?
Oh, I mean, every day, like when you're starting a business, a blue collar business like hauling junk and moving, and the business is called College Hunks Hauling Junk, you're going to get some skeptics, right? And certainly being a 22, 23-year-old that's getting started, it's hard to command that respect. Also, it's like, you don't really deserve the respect yet, right?
Yeah.
We haven't put in the hours of time. We were rookies in business and in life. It's honing your skill. It takes 10,000 hours to become a professional. I've put in way more than 10,000 hours into this business. So
you probably put in 10,000 last year.
Maybe. But I think I always call it like the matrix, right? You get to a certain point in your business or entrepreneurial career where like all of a sudden you start seeing the matrix everywhere, and you're able to like quickly pick up on what's missing from the business, what the business needs, and sort of have like a natural intuition for your own business, but then just like business in general. So it takes time, right? Like it was walking into rooms with folks that are older than you, employees that are older than you. And it's like hard to command that respect, and sometimes also like drive into conflict, right? A big part of success in business is being able to have that healthy conflict and call out.
Conflict management is huge.
Conflict management, it's like leaning into it, right? Calling out bad behavior, holding people accountable. That's tough when you're 23. But as you get older, and as I've gotten older, I've been able to like remove some of those misconceptions or barriers of myself and just lean into that accountability.
I get it a lot with, and I say older lawyers, obviously tastefully and respectfully, but every once in a while I'll get on the phone with these old dog defense attorneys, in their 60s and their 70s. And it's like, let me tell you, young buck. And I'm like, no, sir, let me tell you, like, right. This is how this is going to go. Like you may be talking to, I'm 34. Okay. And I get it. You've probably been practicing longer than I've been alive, but the rules of the game are still the same. So, I think it's a healthy balance. But it's like, I think it's the confidence that you exert too. And I think when you start getting the flow, answering the questions correctly, over preparing, I think that solves, a lot of those issues. And I think now more than ever, as many, young kids that are crushing it, I really think age is just a number. Yeah. I mean, how many, tech kids do we know that are in their early 20s that are, $1 billion valuations now? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's especially with everything that's going on with AI, which I'm sure we'll talk about. Yeah. It's a new world, right? A 21-year-old can create a platform, a social media company, and generate millions of dollars with just himself or herself. So we're in a brave new world, to say the least. Yeah. We talked about a little bit, obviously, your massive footprint. How many states are you in, you think? I think we're in about 40. Wow, that's insane. With that being said, that's crazy to even hear. Yeah. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. How do you maintain culture with such a large footprint? I mean, it's not like you can just, maintain your day and fly to North Carolina to fix a problem. So how does that go? I mean, culture is everything. It's like, who we allow to even open a franchise. Yeah. What does the vetting process look like? It's pretty massive. I mean, like we don't, in the early days, we'd sell a franchise to anyone, right? Yeah. Because we were young and needed to sort of scale the business. But now it's become, Steve seems cool. Yeah. Like, fog a mirror. Yeah. He can do it. I mean, he said he could drive a truck. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Now it's, I would say we probably say no 90% of the time. Really? Yeah. So it's a lot more no's for us. And so they've got to be a culture fit. They've got to be bought in. An ideal franchise partner is a lot like a head coach, right? They're really managing a frontline team. They've got the headset on. They're inspiring, and they have a natural inclination to wanting to build leaders, right? And that's really what our business is all about. We're not a moving and junk removal company. We're a leadership factory. And so who we let in the door is a big part of it. And then it's the constant communication. We've got franchise coaches that are out in the field, communicating with the franchisees. We've got an annual conference where we bring franchisees from all over the country to Tampa. And it's just continually. I've seen it. Yeah. You've seen that? Yeah. A couple years ago. Yeah. So it's. You did the last one at the Tampa Convention Center, is that correct? Yeah, that's right. We had Ludacris. It was our 20-year anniversary. That's what it was. So we had Ludacris perform. Luda, which was awesome. As a millennial, that was pretty cool. But it's just, it's everything. It's who we hire. It's who we fire. It's how folks grow within the organization. Like you have to be a culture fit in order to stay in the orange and green. So it's not easy. It's a constant commitment to driving that. How did you, two questions kind of stem for that. So number one is when you've been around so many obviously business leaders and these individuals, even though they're part of your entity, they're running their own business more or less. How do you, what skill sets I think do you see between the good franchises and the maybe not so good?
The skill sets are exactly, I mean, it's a commitment to culture. It's a commitment to building leaders. It's a head coach's mentality or a mentor mentality.
They treat it like their own and they're willing to grind.
Oh yeah. It's I mean, they've got their money into it, right? Which is the beauty of franchising in our business is you have owners with equity and skin in the game that really care about the customer experience, the team member experience. But it's like, it's the folks that follow systems, stay engaged, and have all those sort of grit, intangible qualities that do well. The folks that are disengaged, don't follow the system, don't enjoy building leaders are not going to do well. Unfortunately, like it's not the right business if you're a librarian. You've got to be someone that's kind of outgoing, a go-getter, that's enjoys being around people. It's a people business.
You kind of, to use another, I don't know if it's bad, but more of an awesome millennial quote, started from the bottom, now we're here.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. That's right.
You've seen so many different, you've been in so many different roles in the company. How did you learn to delegate as you continue to progress?
I mean, that's a huge piece. Like the founders.
My staff will tell you I'm a control freak. So it's been like, that's been my main focus the last 2 years is trying to.
That's right. I mean, it's, the founders are great, but then can also become the bottleneck. Again, to reference another book, we read a book called Traction, which is by Gino Wickman. And it's really a framework or operating system for a business. And every high growth business typically needs a visionary and an integrator. And typically the integrator is not a great visionary and the visionary is not a great integrator. We've been fortunate to use that framework really well. Nick and I sit in the visionary seat and we try to empower the team, but we try to get out of the way and let them make the decisions and the final call. And honestly, it's for the best because, sometimes as founders, we want to say yes to everything. Everything sounds like a good idea. We typically have shiny object syndrome. We're always on to the next thing. We need folks that are really specialized and can get the job done in sort of in the framework that we've created.
What I've kind of told myself is that I'm there to, like you said, the visionary, I'm there to set the goals, the parameters, so what we're trying to do. I'm there to provide all of the resources that I can in the most efficient way to, make my people, I guess, empower them, powerful as possible. And then it's my job to get out of the way and give them a timeline that works for both of us to complete that project or that goal. And then evaluate from there.
Yeah, it's
you almost kind of like, obviously you try to prevent as many fires as you can,
right?
But you got to give them, room to run and more rope, or you're never going to see what anybody can do.
Yeah, I mean, again, the kid analogy, right? Yeah. When kids 2 years old, you got to be there, but when they're 14 years old, you can't be going to school with them and doing their homework for them. So it's like the same analogy in business. You've got to sort of let the business and the brand grow up without you and be able to stand on its 2 feet without you.
What are the metrics in business, or you can even talk about your own business that you think matter the most?
Oh, wow. Well, look, there's the metric that really matters to us a lot is the lead to close metric, right? And probably for any business, is like how many people walk in the door or how many people call you, and then how many of them actually pay money and buy from you. And so like we're obsessed with that lead to close metric. Obviously, average job size or average ticket is a huge one. But we call those like the desert island metrics. If Nick or I were stuck on a desert island and could only get 2 or 3 numbers from the team, what would they be? Top line revenue is obviously critical. Lead to close is critical. Average job size is critical. And those are like the numbers that we're always watching as an executive team.
Yeah, but we're very similar. For us, we call it, case acquisition cost. So how much, we're spending on marketing in order to get cases. And I've kind of went like, I love numbers. So I've started creating dashboards and charts where I've tried to track it county by county. So if we're spending X in this county, how many our cases are getting, and then start to look over the data because we're very similar in our businesses in the fact that I'm an emergent need, but I'm not a consistent need.
Right.
So I don't have I'm not constantly reviewing contracts for you or dealing with the day-to-day or anything like that. I'm a, 18 to 36 month, need, and then on to the next, case. And you may never need me again, hopefully.
Right.
So case acquisition and cost is used. And then the second thing is the size of the case, obviously. Job
Average
size,
job size,
to you. And then my third metrics that really is time to close. So basically,
close.
which is a little different for you guys because it's your more instantaneous.
Right.
For us is, what puts the client in the best position to get the most efficient result in the, most efficient period of time.
Yeah.
If we need to fight the good fight and go to distance, okay, that's fine.
Got it.
But we need to make sure we're doing the due diligence because obviously the defense and the insurance companies will drag things out because it's better for them. So we, if it takes us, $1 million case takes us 8 years, that, consistently, sometimes that'll happen, not often, but, that's obviously not beneficial to anybody at the end of the day. So I look at time as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
So you hit on it earlier, and obviously I ask some form of an AI question in every podcast. How has your business been affected by AI? Maybe not as much as robots removing junk yet.
Right, not yet. Yeah, we're not, the beauty is like if Google or Anthropic or OpenAI need to move offices, they still have to call a mover. Or
Correct.
If they have a leaky toilet, they still have to call a plumber. So the blue collar sort of businesses, I think, are a little bit more insulated from disruption. But that all being said, there's huge opportunities with AI from a customer service standpoint, from just like a back office business operations standpoint. So we're at this point, I think what we're leaning into most is AI enabled team members. Like we're not going to necessarily create some AI platform that does everything for the entire office, but as an individual team member, if you're one of our in-house attorneys, like using AI to review what we call the franchise disclosure document, right? It's our franchise agreement, or using AI to improve our marketing funnel and our marketing lead to close. So I think for us, and I think for a lot of businesses, it's like empowering the individual team members to become AI enabled. I think AI is no different than a hammer or a paintbrush.
I agree.
Like, it's not going to necessarily build the entire home, but it's a huge tool that's going to allow you to build the home faster, more efficient, and hopefully with better results than without it.
The more efficiencies, the more that I research about AI and kind of go down that black hole, I don't think we're anywhere near full replacement. I think the companies that are doing that, I think it's kind of odd, and the AI agents and things like that. And I think AI is very generational, meaning if my dad's talking, he's 67, my mom's 65. If they're talking to an AI agent, that's not a good fit for them.
Yeah.
So I think until we kind of get past the baby boomers and we get past, probably our generation, I think AI integration is, probably 20 to 50 years away from really being like fully integrated.
Sure.
But I think it'll speed up efficiencies, and I think it'll make things better, and I think it'll help with processes.
Yeah.
But I don't see it being a full replacement anytime soon.
Probably not. Yeah. I mean, I think business like ours is very human centric. Like you want to talk to a human, humans are going to show up to your house. It requires some level of trust that this human is capable of doing it. So it's hard to build that trust if it's just robots talking to each other. All that being said, the back office, the back end items, potentially being able to do more with less, definitely is true. And that already exists today. So it's like using it as a tool to sort of enhance the business is critical.
And a lot of, like you said, a lot of these systems have, or, processes have been in place. Yeah. I think it's just becoming more user friendly or able to, we're just adapting differently.
I mean, it's wild. Like, I mean, I'm using AI personally daily, right?
I do too, yeah.
Whether it's in hiring, you put resumes and personality tests.
Not legal work daily.
Not legal work, that's right. I've used it for some legal work. It's pretty powerful with like contract reviews. But yeah, I mean, it's a powerful tool. It sort of creates almost like another person. Like you now have two people for the price of one, right? And you're leveraging this like expert to help you with your day-to-day tasks, your day-to-day life.
It's incredible.
It's super powerful.
In seconds.
Yeah.
I found it very interesting that you said earlier in the podcast, obviously, College Hunks is a massive organization. I wouldn't even call it a business. I mean, full on organization. Mm-hmm. You said that you have to stay focused on the business. How do you do that? Because I'm sure there's ancillaries, offers, investments, this, that, the other thing. So how do you kind of train your mind almost to say this is what I'm doing?
It's tough, right? Like an entrepreneur, you're going to naturally
red dress
have
syndrome, I think.
Red dress or shiny object. Yeah. Like it's, I know I have a level of ADD and shiny object syndrome. I know that about myself. So I have to, knowing that, also put clamps down, and like having a person in your corner that's sort of like the no guy or no gal that's just like, that's a good idea, but we can't do that right now is really important. And then really having a vision for where you see the business in 5 years and 10 years, And that vision is everything. And so if like it's something that's not going to get you closer to the vision of where the organization is going to be, it's probably the wrong thing to be working on. So it starts with vision, and then it's really being like discernment and discipline of having a team around you that's going to hold you accountable to not chase down everything. It's tough. I mean, I still struggle with that.
I've always loved real estate as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a mutual friend, Elliot Caldwell.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, I hired him to do my first Airbnb, and I met with my financial manager. And I said, hey, I'm going to do this. And his first question was, is this going to distract you from your main business?
Yeah.
And I said, actually, quite the opposite. They're awesome and do everything for you. And he said, okay, perfect. And to your point, I think it's important to have those people that are going to keep you on the straight and narrow, and are like, hey, is this gonna be a deterrent from your main business?
Right.
No, okay, go for it. We'll call it. I don't know if there's anything as such as passive income, but 90% passive. Okay, pass go collect $200.
Yep.
It's going to require 50% of your time. No, that's
right.
not a good fit. But for you, that 10% is
it's
millions
massive.
and millions
Massive.
of revenue.
I mean, because there was a point.
So it might be easier to turn down opportunities because it's like, if this doesn't move the needle X, then why would I do it?
And also, it's like, even if it's 1% of your time, all of a sudden that aggregates, right? If you're doing 8 things that are 1% of your time, now that's 8% of your time is gone. That's a huge hit in a business that's trying to be $1 billion company. So,
is that crazy for you to say that?
It is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to say that. Again, if you told us that 20 years ago, or when we were in 10th grade, that we were sort of marching towards being $1 billion company, we'd say you're crazy. But that's just like, it's the focus, right? It's even someone like Elon, who's doing a lot of things, like you can tell the level of focus that he has.
The T Club.
That's right.
The $1 trillion. Yeah.
He's in the trillion, right?
Yeah.
But he's got, X, he's got SpaceX. He's obviously a superhuman, but
yeah, he also doesn't sleep. So.
He doesn't sleep. Yeah, he's a superhuman. But I mean, even still, like the level of focus and the level of not that he's in the weeds, but he cares about the weeds. Like he cares about the little details. And it takes sort of being a good founder, being a good entrepreneur is like being able to see the forest from the trees, but then also being able to go down to like the micro level. And we still do this. Like if someone's not answering the phone the right way, or if the guy's uniform is not right, like calling that out. Because the little details matter just as much as the big ones. Right.
Two things for me, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. How is it seeing your logo somewhere really cool,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe sponsoring a UM game, or doing this or that, or having a suite, or et cetera. Yeah. How surreal is that? And then I guess the latest one for me, we started getting billboards in town, and my kids see them.
Oh, wow.
And my son's like, Dad, that's Daddy, or he called me once and he's like, Daddy, this is you. How does that feel for like to share the success with your family and to like see your name in lights, more or less?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I mean, with our kids, seeing the truck, trucks, kids love trucks.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
So the kids seeing the trucks, their friends seeing the trucks is always like fun. We just did something at the Junior Achievement BizTown.
Oh, cool.
And we built a storefront. So now I think every 4th and 5th grader in Hillsborough County comes and works at BizTown. So I don't know what that number is, but tens of thousands of kids are like seeing the College Hunks store. Some of them are working in it, and now they're coming home and telling their parents, I worked at College Hunks. I was the CEO or CFO. This is what they do. It's incredible, and I think inspiring the young generation is
Talk about some of the community engagement.
Yeah. So I mean, the Junior Achievement BizTown is one here locally in Tampa. We do U.S. Hunger. So we donate 2 meals for every job that we do. We've just passed, oh gosh, the team's going to kill me. I'm going to butcher it. I think it's 4 million meals donated.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then we have just done a lot in the communities, just at each franchise level too, whether it's, cancer walks, or we do a free move for domestic violence in October.
That's great.
So, giving back to the community is huge. And it's really like, and then the younger generation too. I mean, inspiring kids. I think what's cool about us and what they relate to us is that we didn't start Facebook. It's not a tech company or an AI company. It's like a very visual, hands-on business. It's trucks and labor, and we've been able to take a fresh spin on it. Right? It's moving and hauling has been around for 1,000 years. It's just a new way of doing it. Maybe a little bit more tech-enabled, a little bit more culture, but kids really relate to that and inspire them to then potentially start their own businesses.
I started recently. I just spoke at the USF St. Pete College.
Mm-hmm.
Law Society, And then I just spoke at the law frat, they call it. So
okay.
It's interesting. At University of Tampa, their pre-law society. And I was amazed at how many great young people we have out there. We sound so old, young people.
Yeah.
But I was so excited. And the reason why I wanted to do it is I wanted them to have somebody close to their age that had some success and that they could relate to. Because anytime that anybody came to speak, it was all about them and what they did and how great they were. And I'm like, how do you even approach that person or anything like that? So I really tried to take the approach and say, here's how you get an internship. Like, if you send me a resume, if you have one, I'll shoot it out to some of my buddies. Like, you can do it. Don't give up. It's you can be successful in 10 years. You don't have to wait 30. I mean,
that's right.
So, and really wanted to give back that way to show people that, or just have somebody they could relate to.
Yeah.
Hey, you have a silly question, email me, whatever. And I think that's so important. Everybody thinks when they get back to youth or anything, they just have to write a big check. And it's so much more than that.
Yeah, it's more than that. Actually, after this podcast, I have a meeting with a mentee that I have. So I'm part of a group called Think Big for Kids, and we mentor young people. Actually, this mentee's a little bit older. He's a freshman at Florida State.
Cool.
But he's very excited about business. So it's a great way for me to give back and sort of impart some of the knowledge and wisdom that I have with someone and hopefully see his life or business flourish, not necessarily as a direct result of my help, but, a small help.
Somebody's rooting for you.
Yeah. I think it can go a long way.
Last question that I ask on every podcast, when the music stops and you're at the end of, your life, your story, what do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for me, I'm very passionate about building something bigger than me, right? And we're doing that with College Hunks. Like, you fly into any city, you'll see orange and green trucks driving around. And College Hunks is really a platform for people to become successful, whether it's become their own franchise partner, learn something and start their own business. I want College Hunks to be a platform of impact. And our company purpose is to move the world. So any small way that we can do that and move the world in a positive direction is huge. So I think at the end, I'd love to be remembered for being a good father and husband, and then also for sort of leaving the world with a business that has impacted hopefully thousands, if not millions of people.
Perfect. I love it. Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the podcast. Absolutely incredible. Your story is incredible, and you taking the time. I'm going to make sure that in the details below, I'm going to tag College Hunks. I'm going to tag the podcast that they're doing, College Hunks Talking Junk. And make sure that you guys have all that information. So if you need to have something removed from your home, these are the guys to take care of it. So another thing is, and I want to put it out there, that we're car guys. Okay. So if this podcast gets 10,000 likes, which I don't know, that would be a record for us. But if this podcast gets 10,000 thumbs up, the next time we have Omar on, he's going to have that Lamborghini. There you go.
From your lips to God's ears.
Yeah. So 10,000 likes. But yeah, my man, I can't thank you enough.
Hey, man,
as always, it is no accident that Omar is as successful as he is, and we're out. See you soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.